guys, welcome to another episode of Dexter. Sorry, what's up, what's up, what's up? Happy New Year, happy Black Excellence Month, happy joy. I did not record for January on purpose, but I did not want to miss out. I didn't want to delay much longer, and so here I am, and I'm so glad to see you guys on the other side of 2019. So jumping right in, today I want to talk about trauma bonding. And it's something that I've realized for me has been a common thread. And a lot of times you may know something's wrong, but until it is a terminology attached to it, you don't really know how to pinpoint it, how to really see the whole picture on it. So I'm going to give you the definition and then I'm going to expound on it from my point of view. So trauma bonding is the misuse of fear, excitement, sexual feeling, and sexual physiology to entangle another person. Another definition is a strong emotional attachment between an abused person and his or her abuser formed as a result of the cycle of violence. Now, I've never been in a domestic violence situation. That's just something I have never experienced. And but I am a survivor of abuse, of childhood abuse, of childhood molestation. I have been raped by someone that I knew, and those are the compartments that I put it into. But as far as like an ongoing relationship of being physically abused and mentally abused, and I've never experienced that. But for me, trauma bonding is a whole. I put it whereas like because of the abuse that I've experienced as a child, it did play a role in the relationships that I chose and how I went about those relationships, and eventually how those relationships ended. So for me, I'm taking trauma bonding to the next level in my mind. Like, because of the things that I experienced as a child, it did play a big role in how I moved forward. And I think I told you guys in a previous episode that at one point, like I was talking to my homeboy and he really was like, why do you keep dating these clones? And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you need to go back to the source. Like, who is the first person that made you feel like this? And then dissect that relationship, and it'll set the tone moving forward in how you date men, how you view men, how you see men, so on and so forth. And I was like, and it was an aha moment for me, because the thought had never occurred to me, like, but it's true, like we keep repeating this cycle, and it's a form of, for me, it's a form of trauma bonding. Now, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not yet anyway. But I'm very interested in how the brain works, because I know the brain has a way of repeating these things in a way of protecting us, or seemingly protecting us. And that's why it's so hard for people to give up habits and retrain their brain to do certain things. They say it takes like 28 days to create a habit or to break a habit, but I feel like it takes longer than that, depending on how entangled you are and how intrinsic this habit is for you. 28 days is not enough. For some people, it may take 28 months, 28 years. You'll find people who are now in their 60s who are breaking habits and realizing why they did certain things and why they will no longer do those things. It's just a matter of how intrinsic these habits are and how long we've been doing them. 28 days versus 10 years of your life, or versus 18 years of your life, you know, depending on when you started dating, depending on how long your relationships are. Like, 28 days is not enough to break a habit and to retrain your brain. And so trauma bonding for me, well, I'm sorry, before I go into that, going back into who was the first person that I felt like I needed to please, or I felt like I wasn't good enough for, I felt like I can treat them like crap and they'll still be here, because it's not, my relationships have been so many different dynamics, but they all boil down to the same thing, which is me, right? Like, because you have to take accountability. We can blame other people all day, every day. But again, for me, past a certain point, you have to take accountability for the things that you allow in your life. So they all come back to me and how I viewed these relationships in accordance to previous relationships. You know what I mean? So it just is how to, and it can be a series of men too, because like I noticed that I date men who remind me of my father. I look for men who remind me of my stepfather, right? Like, and there are two different type of men. Like my father, my paternal father is dark. He's tall. He has pretty teeth. He speaks several languages. He's really smart and da 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 da. But he doesn't do well with responsibility. My stepfather, on the other hand, he's tall, he's skinny, he's light skinned, he's a hard worker, he's very family orientated, he keeps his promises. My stepfather, who I just at this point call my dad is one of those people who, like, if he tells you like he's gonna give you something on Friday, he got it. Like, it's not a game. And if he doesn't have it, he'll come to you and tell you, like, look, I know I promised you XYZ on today, and I know you're disappointed. But so, like, he'll explain as to why he couldn't deliver, and then he'll give you a further date, and he'll deliver on that date. It doesn't matter. Like, he's one of those men who will give you his last. Like, literally give you his last. And he's just so kind, so he's just a great dad. He's just a great person, you know? And it's one of the things that I do tend to look for in the men that I date. Like, do you take accountability? Are you serious about, are you real about your word? Like, is your word your bond? Are you family orientated? Things like that. But I don't want to date my dad. It's just like, so, going back to my paternal father, who hadn't been in my life much, and ended up divorcing my mom because he needed to be free and he wanted to roam and run the streets and whatever. And he passed away years ago. He passed away when I was a child, actually, before my stepfather came into my life. But he just wasn't a good father. And so, again, trauma bonding, right? And this is my terminology, this is my twist on trauma bonding, is that I tend to date men who are like that, who they're great, they're smart, but emotionally they're really unavailable. And it gives me the excuse to also be emotionally unavailable. And so things just don't work because I'm not giving, they're not giving, and it's just an icy situation. And it just becomes, you know, I say I want one thing, but I do another thing because I'm bonded to this man, my father, who was never really there, who never really just didn't take accountability, just wanted to be out on the streets, essentially the bad boy. You know what I mean? Like, and then, you know, I don't believe nice guys finish last because my dad is dope. And, you know, he married my mom, and he's just, they've been married for years. And I think every relationship has their up and down, but they do have, they've bonded over the years and they've grown together over the years. And you know, they're an old couple now, and I like that. But who wants to date their dad? But now I'm realizing that it's not really about my second dad. Um, and it's not really about not wanting to date the nice guy. It's just I needed to let go of the memory of my actual father. Like, I realize I do want that emotional bond, and I do want to be emotionally available. I do want to be in a relationship where I'm able to be vulnerable without fearing some type of repercussion or none, you know? Like, making yourself available and then having it fall on deaf ears, or someone's not there to console you or just bond with you on an emotional level. And I had to let that go. So I feel like trauma bonding always goes back to, like, who is the first person. And once you realize who that first person is, you really have to not only dissect it, but then make peace with it and break ties with it, because it's just not healthy. And there's nothing you can do with it. There's really not, like, it hasn't worked for you. I think for some men, and because it's not a woman thing, it's a people thing. I think for some men, that their trauma bonding could be their mom or their grandmother or even their father. You know, it's someone who made you feel like shit, essentially, you know? And so you take that, and it's either you go on to make other people feel like shit. And I've been in those situations where I've been in relationships and the guy is a nice guy and I'm just not the nicest person. I'm just like, you know, but that was me pulling back and not afraid of being vulnerable, afraid of being open, afraid of availing myself to someone in the fear that they just might not be there for the long haul. And who knows? It could have worked out, could have not worked out. And I kind of feel like some things it's just not going to happen in the time span that you want it. You can force a relationship or whatever, but that's a whole other topic. I'm not going to go into that. I just realized, like, again, it's the bad boy, bad girl terminology: fear, excitement, you know, sexual feelings, and they fall on deaf ears. Like, they can seem fulfilling in that moment, but when you really break it down, they're really not. And it goes back, and you have to go back and realize that, like, you cannot have a fulfilling relationship based on trauma. And to me too, it can be shared trauma, because there are friendships. For me, when I say relationships, I feel like it's all encompassing. Some people break them down into romantic, platonic, so on and so forth. But I feel like relationships are relationships. Anybody that's in your life that you deal with essentially is a relationship. Yeah, some things are romantic, some things are platonic, but relationship for me is all encompassing. So that's what I mean when I say relationships. So you have friendships in your life where it is based on trauma, and it's a shared trauma. Like, oh, we've lived parallel lives in the past, and so that's what we can talk about. But I don't want to relive my trauma with my friends. I don't want to keep going over certain things. If something arises and we talk about it and we can break it down and move past it, or you can help me move past it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always things within the friendship, but outside relationships from the friendship, and you're just like brainstorming, and then you realize, oh, this goes back to, boom, I didn't heal this part, and so now I'm reliving this situation, blah, blah, blah. That's great. But just to base a friendship off the fact that, excuse me, oh girl, you've gone through this, or you've gone through this, and da da da, and that's what we just keep rehashing and rehashing and rehashing. I don't want relationships based on that either. I find, for me, trauma bonding goes into romantic relationships. It can also go into platonic relationships, because also too, we have friendships where the other person is not giving us enough. Like it's a lopsided friendship, or we keep people around and we like, oh, I've known you for such a long time and you're just there. But am I giving you the substance that you need to maintain this friendship? Do I make you feel good about yourself? Like, it's about taking accountability on both ends. I may not be the greatest friend for certain people, but for other people, I'm a wonderful person, and vice versa. And so I got rid of a lot of unnecessary, stagnant things in my life, people in my life, because I realized, like, I can't give you what you need. You can't give me what I need or even want. So why are we here? Why are we here? And I'm not talking about romantic. I'm just meaning across the board. Realize where your traumas start, where they stem from, and look at how that extends into your personal relationships, interpersonal relationships, friendships, like even in your family dynamic. And if you do that, you'll look at how the pattern just plays itself out. It really is a pattern based on that first person. Everybody is a clone, and excuse me, everybody that we bring into our life is essentially a clone of someone else. I've had friends who years apart and they actually like look alike, and I'm like, oh my God. And whatever happened in the previous friendship, I won't talk to someone based on how they look if they remind me of someone that I had a bad experience with. Just because I don't want to be triggered by the fact that you look like this person and relive that trauma. So I just won't talk to you. I just won't. And I won't date guys who look like guys who I had bad relationships with. By bad, I just mean like it didn't work out. Because I don't want to relive that. I don't want to play that game with myself. It's not even, and they could be great people, but the fact that they remind me of someone that I no longer like or just don't want in my life, I just won't talk to them. So it's, and it may sound strange, but that's how I'm working through my shit. Okay, that's how I'm working through my trauma. But more importantly, I'm realizing the patterns that I've allowed in my life and how I've played them out and how I've put this whole thing together based on the original people. Do the work, go back and look at why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you allowing people in your life that don't serve you? Why are you trauma bonding? It's really what it comes down to. Why are you trauma bonding? Let that go. Make peace with it. And be cognizant of your patterns. Be aware of your patterns and how they play out and the people that you bring into your life, the people that you attract. Be aware of it. And this is a year of abundance. This is a year of fulfillment. This is a year of awareness. Be aware. Like, I felt like 2018 was just like purging. We're bringing stuff to the forefront. We got to fix this. We got to heal this. We got to do this. The work doesn't stop. But did you learn anything? Did you take what you learned and did you apply it to your life? If you cannot be a student and then the test comes and you're saying, like, you're in class every day, right? You're doing the work every day, and then the test comes and you fail. And then we're like, all right, we're going to give you a do-over. And then you fail again. You have to apply what you have learned into your life. And you have to continuously apply because you have to break the previous cycle. You have to make it a habit of being aware. You have to make it a habit of healing. You have to make it a habit of noticing things in your life that are destructive. And trauma bonding is essentially destructive. And I feel like the older we get, I know it takes a bit longer to break habits and to recall certain things. But I also feel like we're gaining strength in saying, no, I no longer want to live this way. I no longer want to be this person. I no longer. I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled. I want to be vulnerable. I want to be whatever your wants are. You have to do the work to get there. It's not going to happen overnight. And you have to be consistent about the work that you're doing. You have to make it a lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's not a fad. It's a lifestyle. Like, this is how I live my life. I'm going to be accountable. I'm going to instill boundaries. I'm not going to be with people who don't, who essentially invalidate me and make me feel like crap, or are unavailable emotionally, or just don't, like, I'm not going to do that. And moving forward, I'm going to be a better person because of it. And that extends out. So that's my rant for today. That's my diary entry. Take this, apply it to your life as you see fit. And I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.